Okay, so my name is Antonia KG Moses, but I prefer to be called KG. I am from the United Kingdom, Kent, to be precise. So I am a grief counselor and also a self-development coach. I work with women who have experienced pregnancy loss, and what I do is I support them through their grief process, and just allow them to go through whatever their experience, and just helping them get through it, that period of time, because I can relate to it, because it's something that I've gone through myself. I'm also the founder of Every Step Counts, which is an online personal development platform, and we give people tools and resources on how to self-analyze, self-reflect, and become more self-aware.
Yeah.
And so they can also improve, their personal development and personal growth. In addition to that, I run my own charity, which is Balm and Gilead. Yeah, I run my own charity, which is Balm and Gilead charity. And what we do, we support mental and emotional wellness. And what we do, we focus on helping people to get over negative thought patterns, negative mindsets, unhealthy behavior, unhelpful feelings, and we do that through coaching. So we have like sessions with our participants and our clients.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a little bit about me. And I just wanted to add also, my core value is the acronym CASTLE, which stands for compassion, authenticity, service, trust, and leadership, and empathy. Those are the things that I hold very dear.
Okay.
That's just a little bit about me.
And you mentioned
I'm also a mom.
Yes, same. Okay. And do you have a daughter or son?
I've got two boys. One is 12 and one is 6.
Oh, I love it. I have a daughter. So
nice.
You mentioned that you can relate. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, what was your experience with infertility or miscarriage? Can you go a little bit further into that?
I'll tell you my story. We could be here all day long. I had issues with infertility,
Mm-hmm.
and it took me a long time to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And when I did, it was my mid-30s that
Mm-hmm.
I was pregnant with my first child. And that experience was smooth, it was fine. Then 6 years or so after that experience, I wanted to try again. We were trying for a long period of time, and it wasn't happening. And I had issues with, hormonal issues, polycystic ovary issues, and eventually I got pregnant. But then far into the pregnancy, 12 weeks into the pregnancy, I had a miscarriage. And that was my first experience of such a traumatic experience. And what I found out, is, in the hospital, somebody was trying to call me. I do apologize. Whilst I was in the hospital, it was like, sorry, this had happened to you. What do you want to do next? There wasn't really much, counseling or anything like that. So because that was my first experience, I was like, okay, this is a little bit odd that, I'm not having any aftercare. But I think because it was a miscarriage, they just thought this is something that we see all the time. It's not it's something we're used to. So I went away with that. And one thing that happened to me through that experience was this. They gave me a choice. They said, you know what, do you want us to do this surgically, or do you want it to happen naturally? And I was like, because I was still holding on to this experience, because I went back for a second ultrasound. I refused to accept this had happened. And I went through 2 weeks of actually waiting for this process to complete itself, and that was a very difficult period. So that happened to me. Then I had my son, and then I had my second son, and then tried again, and then became pregnant with my daughter. And initially when I was pregnant with her, everything was going fine. Everything was fine until, because of my age, over 40,
Right, right,
there is a high risk of, having some kind of abnormalities. And then when I was tested for that, they said, we believe that there might be some issues in this pregnancy. And
yeah,
then they referred me to more of a consultant department within the NHS, which is our National Health Service here. And
okay,
they did further investigation, and they realized that she had trisomy 18, which is a chromosomal defect,
yeah,
abnormality. And they don't usually survive, even if you go through the process and their birth, they don't survive past a year. And
mhm,
even if they did, the quality of life would not be good. And they kept saying that to me, but I'm a person of faith. And there was a part of me that was saying, I hope, God can actually turn this around for me. And I
right,
held on to that. But the consultants were saying, you need to think about yourself, and you need to think about your other children.
mm,
Because, if you go through this pregnancy and this child is actually brought forth, what kind of quality of life will she have? But every time I went into, to have my ultrasound test done, I always saw the heartbeat, and that heartbeat was a hope for me that,
right,
there's something will change. But unfortunately, I went through the whole pregnancy, and then, they booked me in for a C-section, but she didn't survive the experience. And I could remember that I didn't really, and I think what was more traumatic for me is because that was my third C-section. And it was
mm,
really, this one was really hard on my body.
yeah,
It was hard for my body to get back together. And I think the hardest part was having going through that experience and not taking the child home. This is double,
hurt,
knocked
pain,
down.
yeah,
And and then in the hospital, what I experienced was I had a really good bereavement nurse. She was very, very good. And she came in and she held my hand. She was there for me, going through my experience, because I had to stay in hospital for like a week because I had some medical complications.
yeah,
And she was really good. And so, but I did not want to see the baby. I said, no, I did not want to see her.
yeah,
And but I kept asking, what does she look like? And
right,
she took the pictures and she brought the pictures to me, and I didn't want to see her. But then she gently spoke to me and said, I want you to really think about this, because when the process is over, you might think later on, why didn't I just see her? Why didn't I see her face?
right,
So
right,
I had a conversation with my husband, and we decided, okay, bring her in. And then we had the chaplain who came in, prayed, and I said my goodbye. And
oh,
then we had to obviously organize the funeral and everything else. I didn't realize that you had to kind of organize the funeral and things like that. But yeah, we did that. So that's a little bit of a background for me. And I'm going through that experience, and I had people say to me, this happened for a reason.
oh my gosh,
Maybe you need to, maybe this is your calling. I didn't want to hear that.
right,
Look,
right,
I've been through experience, and I don't want to go. I don't really want to have anything to do with this. And I remember joining like Facebook groups
yes,
where
those
people
are
have
always
gone
go
through the
to,
experience. Yeah, and I was listening, but I had to come out of those groups, because I realized there was a lot of women who went through these experiences, and some of them had gone through it more than once. Some people 5
yeah,
times. And
yeah,
it was at that point, emotionally, I could not contain it. So I came out of those groups. But later on, I had women coming to me that had the experience, and they
yeah,
wanted to talk to me, and I thought, you know what? Actually, I can empathize with them. I can relate to what they've been through.
definitely,
And with
yeah,
my experience in counseling, I thought, you know what, this is an area that I'm going to focus on. And that's how we're here. And Maya, that's why I named it after her, Maya's therapy talk, because I wanted to leave I
oh,
wanted to, yeah, that's her name.
okay,
I wanted to, you know, um, even though physically she's not here, but her
Yeah.
presence and her voice is still going through, is still coming through the women and the different clients that I work with. You know, so
Wow.
she's still here. I'm letting her spirit live on. Yes,
That's
so that's
so
a little bit
beautiful.
coming. Mm-hmm.
And it is funny that you mentioned Facebook groups. Well, you mentioned a few things that I want to point on. You mentioned Facebook groups. I know a lot of women go to that for support after miscarriage, stillbirth, because I went to it and I did have to leave because it was very triggering. It was very, it constantly reminded you of what you went through, even though you would be in a happy mood one day and you'll constantly see it. And then you also mentioned um, people supporting you and telling you, oh, this happens for a reason. So many women get told that, and it's like, we know that the intentions are the best, but it doesn't help. It actually makes you feel, worse, because you're trying to think of this like ultimate reason as to why something happened. But it's like, no, it's no reason why it happened. It hurt. It's something I have to go through. And, it's no big ultimate, goal for me going through all this pain. It's just something that happens in life, unfortunately. And it's not fair. I think that's one of the things that I had to realize. Like, it's okay to admit that it's not fair.
Yes,
So
yes.
as a grief counselor, what would you say to people in the support system around? How can they support women going through miscarriage, stillbirth, or any type of infant loss or infertility?
I think one thing we should try and avoid is advising them, you know. I
Yeah,
mean, prior to me going through this experience, if I had someone like a friend speak to me or they've gone through something similar, I think my natural tendency would be to advise them, oh, just try again,
right, right,
you
right.
know that, it didn't happen this time, it will happen another time. And I think that, even though it's the intentions are good, it doesn't help the situation. So
Not a, yeah,
one of the things that um, I experienced, and I try to um, I was very intentional about, is that, when I was hearing people trying to give me advice, I would just say to them, kindly, politely, that that's not what I need right now. And what I found was that for just people to just say, I'm here for you.
okay,
If you need me, I'm here for you. I had friends who drove all the way. They didn't live close by, but they drove all the way down. They bought drinks, they bought food, and they just sat with me. And we
yeah,
didn't, it wasn't about, the conversation wasn't about what had happened. The conversation was just about, we're here for you. Let's just, how are you? How are you doing? And I think that's the most important thing, that people feel like they are supported and they're loved, and because
yeah,
it does have an effect on your self-esteem as well. Because
yes, yes,
I felt, was I good enough, or wasn't I good enough? Is there something wrong with me that this happened to me
right,
twice? And so, you have a lot of questions that is going on. But the important thing is to not give advice, be there for them. If they want to cry, let them cry.
right,
And if one day they don't want to get up, that's fine. Don't say get up, you
right,
know, get over it. Put your clothes on,
right,
put your makeup on, girl.
right,
Get on with life, because for them, they are not living in that moment. They are living the experience. You might think, okay, it's 2 weeks now, it's 3 weeks time, move on. It doesn't work like that. So
right.
if you're able to, do those things, I think you will best support, your loved one, a friend, a daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned triggers.
Mhm.
How would you mentioned two things I want to point on, triggers and insecurities. Let's first mention triggers. This comes up a lot with women. After a loss, you get really triggered easily by certain conversations, by certain words, certain stories, the baby owl, baby clothes, pregnancy announcements. How would you suggest women cope with that? Because that's hard.
To be quite honest with you, I can't give you how to cope with it.
Yeah.
The reason why I said that, because every person is so different. For
True.
me, I remember this experience so well. I was in the hospital. I was still in hospital, and my husband, out of excitement, came into the hospital and said, "Oh yeah, you know, my sister. We just found out that my sister's pregnant. He didn't do it. He didn't do it out of he was trying to move away from the conversation, but he didn't really actually know how to deal with it, and he said it, and I'll tell you this, I felt like the whole world just dropped out, and the question was, why me? Why
Right.
didn't this work out for me? And so I think at that early stage, I was not able to, I was not, I couldn't cope with that information.
Yeah.
Later on, after I'd gone through and I resolved within myself, and I've come to a place of acceptance, those triggers don't have that much grip on me as they
Right.
would have in the initial stages. So it depends on the stages, and it
Okay.
depends on and it depends on where you are in terms of your process.
Yeah.
So, but what I would say is this: it to cope with it, it's just
Right.
one of those things, because it's an internal, it's an emotional experience that, if I say to you, well, what you should do is just be grateful, or if I say to you, what you should do is just focus on the now, you know
Right.
I'm just saying what I'm saying, but you're feeling what you're feeling,
Right.
and
Right.
so what I will say to you is it gets better.
Mm,
It
definitely.
gets better if you allow yourself and open enough to go through the process, and just don't judge yourself, don't condemn yourself. Just allow yourself to freely go through it, and knowing that you're going to come out at the end stronger. um, then that's my advice, or that's
Yeah.
what I can give to any woman that may be going through that.
Okay, and you mentioned that your friends, God bless them, were able to drive and help you. And with COVID going on, it kind of turns, rocks the boat. So how would you suggest friends and people support themselves going through this during COVID with the restrictions and everything?
Yes, you just have to use what you have, and
Yeah.
the four walls of your home. It's harder, even I think, in COVID. People are already stressed,
Yeah.
anxiety, the fear of the unknown, and then to have that on top of it, I think that is quite distressing. But what I would offer is this: I practice mindfulness, and
Mm,
I always have a space in my home that is for me, where I go into, and everybody knows that this is mommy's time.
yes.
I go into there. So one of the things I would say is have a space for yourself where you can just go into it. I love writing.
Mm,
That's therapy for me. So I can go into a space, so the person, whatever, have a space in your home, go into that space. If you love writing, get your pen and paper out, just write your feelings. Don't try to structure it, or try to get it, you're not writing an essay, you are just freely
yeah.
expressing how you feel on paper. Just have a space which is like your own sacred space. And if you're a creative person, you like drawing, you like painting, just do those things to keep your mind away from, whatever you're going. But make it known to everyone that that is your space.
Yeah.
And make it known to them, I am going to be here for the next hour. I don't want to be interrupted. I just want to have this space for myself. And so that's one aspect of it. Also, meditation. mindfulness
I wish I would
meditation.
have did that.
Yeah, so I think there's an app, but I have to find it, that is really good. I haven't used it, but I've spoken to quite a few people that have, and it's called Headspace Meditation app. So yeah, so people can use that app, a kind of guide, and there's videos on there that would help you, to go through that breathing exercises, your to have, affirmation, positive affirmation, so boosting music to kind of, you know, um, increase your vibration,
Yes.
and so those kind of things, and also to keep active, so you can go for walks,
Right.
outside, or do some kind of exercise in the home. Also, it's important to keep in touch, stay connected. So you have online, so you have Zoom, like you and I have a conversation. We have
Yeah.
Zoom. You can have a Zoom session with your friends or family, where everyone could just come together and just talk, and have a conversation. So there's things to get connected. One thing you shouldn't do is consume a lot of news, and a lot of, if you have to take a break of social media, that's
Yeah.
important to take a break of social media. If you feel like you're getting overwhelmed by everything that's going on in the world, switch off,
Yeah.
or just,
Disconnect.
if you want to find out something, maybe just read a summary of what is going on, but don't just get consumed in it, because it can be overwhelming at times. So those are some of the things that I would say. And also, you could, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So
Okay.
yeah,
Thank
I
you.
just
That
wanted to
was
cover today.
amazing. Because I've been wondering this because I went through a miscarriage before COVID, and it was hard. So I can imagine what women are going through infertility, IVF, miscarriage, recurring miscarriages, loss during COVID with all these restrictions. So that was really great advice. And I think we're running out of time, so I just want to make sure people have you as a resource. I just want to let everybody know that you'll be named as a resource on my resource page at iamsarahg.com. And I also want you to give your socials. How can people connect with you? How can people reach out if they want a session or if they need a grief session?
Okay, so we have my Instagram page, which is Maya, MAYAH underscore therapy talk. Maya underscore therapy talk. I
Okay.
also have so that's maybe I have other social, but you can get me on that in terms of
Okay.
cancer. So my website is www.kgkeji.co.uk. You can also email me via there. I put a lot of blog posts there, so things to
Okay,
do
cool.
with self-esteem and things like that. So yeah, those are my socials.
Okay, thank you. It was really great having you. You are our first interview, so I'm so excited. And I definitely think you will have a huge impact on women going through loss this time. And I think so many women can relate to your story, especially with secondary infertility and going through loss at in the 40s. I know that's super hard for a lot of women. So I just want to thank you for having us, or thank you for being our interview or interviewing. So I'll let you go, and then I'll definitely get